Alright guys, so today we're going to work on shot put, and we're specifically talking about the entry. Okay, so I'm left-handed, and in order for you guys to see everything, because I'll end up turning towards the camera, my toe board is up here, so this is the back of my circle. We will just be doing glide today. Typically at the high school level, you'll see, especially with females, you'll see a lot of gliders, at least for the first couple years. Some might transition to rotational if we could see that they benefit from it. But strictly talking about the glide today, this is just a 2-pound discus ball, It's a 2-pound weighted ball. You can buy these at Walmart, pretty much anywhere. But this is just my shot for today, just so I have something in my hand. But we're gonna work linear. Anytime you hear a coach talk about the shot put, your glide happens in a line, and in that line, pretty much from the back of the circle through your glide, you can pretty much determine the angle at which your shot put is going to fly. But we are just talking about getting out of the back. So everyone's starting position is going to look different in terms of where in the circle. A shot put circle is 7 feet in diameter, so not everybody can cover 7 feet in their glide, especially if you're a beginner. So some people, or I've taught my girls to kind of step it out. So we'll take, mine might look 1, 2, a nice easy 3 steps. This might be somebody's starting position or starting point. But in terms of position and your entry into the throw, you have to, especially at a young age, you have to find out what works best for you. So what I have progressed through in my time as a thrower was sitting, unseating they call it, and that is simply kind of a falling motion. Some people, you'll watch them kind of wind up and get that kick going. Some people, it's kind of they kind of scrunch up and explode. So again, it's all personal preference. In my first video, when we were talking about discus, I talked a lot about just getting comfortable with movements. So if you're not to the point where you understand how to do this, I would coach you backwards a little bit and have you regress. So just getting used to kicking back, kicking like a donkey kick. You're kicking back as hard as you can to propel yourself through the circle. Even if you just, doesn't matter, I don't care how you land. When we were working on this the first week of practice with my gliders, just getting comfortable again. So this is as a lefty, okay? I'm left-handed. Everything, just kicking back, just getting comfortable with this. Very useful drill. My girls will see this in their emails, but is an A drill. An A-frame, so you see this position with my legs, A drill, so you fall back. You'll notice if I have my shot up, I'll come back, and I'm falling, okay? Getting used to that motion. Okay, so if we're just falling again, so if we're talking about the fall, let me back up here a little bit. If we're talking about that fall, we're talking about the way that I got used to gliding was kind of bringing everything forward in order to fall back, okay? And you'll notice that when I fall, my right leg ends up being my block leg. My block leg is already turned because I would be very off balance if I tried, you can see me struggling right now, is if I tried to land straight-footed. This is how you support the A-frame, okay? Getting that back foot turned, shoulders stay back. You should be looking at the back as long as possible. But really useful drill. Bring yourself forward, fall. When you get comfortable with this, you feel really solid. After doing it, you get comfortable with that motion. Then the next piece of it would be to tuck the leg. Okay, getting that foot under you. So if I were to let that go, that's again why something like this is nice. Useful tool is getting that foot far enough under you to where if this were an 8-pound ball, I could drop it and it's not going to hit my foot. That's how you know that your foot is tucked up under you enough. And you'll notice that if you were to stand there long enough, it's not really a comfortable position at all. There isn't a single thing about throwing in all of its twists and turns that's really comfortable. The bending, this is, my shoulders are here, my hips are here, not comfortable at all. But we're talking about getting out of the back. This is where that you'll hear a lot of coaches are slow to fast. This build up back here, this build up of energy, and that push that you guys do towards the front, all that comes out your throat. So that's where this throw, or this, your slow to quick comes in, is this is slow, this is fast. Okay, so this is all we're talking about. Okay? And you guys will watch, you'll notice if you watch my left leg, in terms of where I'm getting turned. So this is my power position, okay? The goal is always to get a nice solid power position. My shoulders are back. My foot is anywhere, probably, really anywhere between 180 and 270, so that as soon as I land, I can turn and push, okay? But if we were to slow this down, I'll do just the best that I can, what's gonna happen is if you watch, if I'm pushing, push, 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 I'm gonna get out of my form here for a second, off the heel, pull, and tuck. So, get that starting position. I will say this too, this is not the part where you rush. Some kids will get here, they'll get set, and then they just go. Take your time loading here, because if you are off balance, it affects everything else in that split second. So take your time, get comfortable back here, get yourself ready. And for gliders, shot put position might be a little bit more forward on the cheek, jawbone. Rotational shot putters are going to have it a little further back. I always like to have mine basically right on my earlobe, kind of tucked into my jawline, because I know it's not really going anywhere. So go through this a couple more times. Again, really just focusing on the entry, landing in the power position. Everything else we'll get to in later videos. So we're just working right here. Again, getting comfortable in this position. You'll notice I'm not super high. I'm also not super low. Again, that comes down to personal preference. Some kids can get out of that really well. Some kids can't. So if you watch film, or if you watch this, or collegiate throwers, other high schoolers, don't think that just because they throw 40, 50, 60 feet that you have to do it with that particular form, or that's the only way to do it. So your starting position though, so loaded leg, everything should be back here. Everything should be back here. So we're talking, everything's here. Your body, I was telling my kids this the first week of practice, your body wants to revert to what's comfortable. Throwing's not comfortable at all. So, this nice straight position, I'm not bent here, too far loaded, wasting my energy. Shot put is up. My shoulders are going to stay towards the back as long as possible. Okay, arm is up. Block arm is back. It can be down. It can be back here. Whatever you need to emphasize keeping the shoulders back. You stay right here. So some people, they would enter this way. Some people, kind of almost similar to a wind and discus, they crank on that leg. I try to coach not to do that. Again, wasting potential energy. But here, unseating, coming out of the back, being explosive. You have to cover as much ground as possible. So if we're only talking about halfway through the circle, you know, you have to be pragmatic about that. You have to figure out kind of where your starting point is. And if you don't have access to a ring right now, like I said, the circle is 7 feet. So if you've got a rock and a stick or chalk, mark it out. It takes 7 steps approximately, depending on your foot size. But, you know, figure out kind of where your starting point is through that 7 feet. Another technique that I try to coach out of, but if we're having trouble kind of establishing our getting used to the glide, some kids, what we'll do is between the 6th grade shuffle that they did in middle school and the glide, we will coach very, very shortly, just to kind of get the hip movement down and keeping the shoulders back, is the 6th grade shuffle, or not the 6th, yeah, no, is a walking throw, left, right, left. Your coaches might call it something different. Not the 6th grade shuffle. 6th grade shuffle and the glide, but is you start square to the back. And I have to remember this. I coach all right-handed kids, so I have to flip this around in my head. But if I'm, nope, mine's right, left, right. So mine is here. That's my throw. So if someone is having trouble establishing their glide, or if they're not quite getting the footwork, we will walk through this just to get them used to staying square, staying loaded, and getting through the circle quickly. This is not a slow motion. So essentially it's, wait, I'm going the wrong way. Right. Okay, I'm still in my power position. You know, so those first right, left, right, those first 2 steps get me. So here I am. It might be here, it might be down here already, but it's right, left, right. That tempo carries over. Shot put, discus, no matter if you're rotating or not, is your feet. Right, left, right. Keep that tempo. That is, again, if you hit that tempo, slow to fast. So if I'm squared up for it, it's right, left, right. Again, staying loaded back. My foot is under me. Drop. It's not going to land on my foot. That one I try to coach out of as quickly as I can, especially if, just so kids don't stay used to that too long. It is good because it kind of helps get ready for that rotation in discus in the spring, or once we get outside. But like I said, I try not to use that as an all the time tool, but it can be useful for some kids. We have played around with it, or some kids, they feel really comfortable with it because they're not ready for the glide yet, and that's okay. 2 options: coming out of the back, trying to be quick. Again, in really both events, you want to cover as much ground as you can, as quickly as you can, and as efficiently as you can. You guys will notice that when I was going through the throw at kind of full speed, everything was staying back and low. You would lose all of your power in the middle if you land like this. If you're landing upright, there's no potential energy being built. So if I'm going through the throw, everything stays low and loaded, staying low, getting ready to turn through and push. Specific to that foot turn that I just did, when we're coming out of the glide, like I said earlier, anywhere between 180 and 270, your foot lands. If I'm still back, you got to get that to the front, get that hip pointing forward, so we can push. That push off of my foot. So everything is here. It's not a shift. We have to rotate and push. Okay, so if that's something you want to work on individually or by itself, get in your power position, crank that foot forward while trying to keep your shoulders back. Crank, push. This is almost like pushing off those toes. So fine, if I have landed here, get those hips as far forward as you can, or even kind of pull it at the same time. Turn and push. Turn and push. Remember, we're not shifting. So a couple cues today. Hopefully that wasn't super confusing. Really hope it wasn't. But if you guys have any questions, certainly you can ask. There are a ton of resources out there. Obviously, I'm not the only one. I was just on a seminar last night. I'll be on another one today. As a spectator, not myself coaching through anything. But there's a lot of content out there, especially right now. A lot of coaches are turning to virtual webinars and sit-ins and stuff like that. So do your research. Find anything that you have around the house to use. It doesn't have to be a ball. Like I said, this is only 2 pounds. But if you've got a tennis ball, a softball would be great, just in terms of size. Just so you have something, in your hands, just to get kind of used to that. Pushing it, the softball laces might not feel the greatest against your cheek, but something to kind of simulate having that arm up with a shot. So I think that's all for today. We'll do another one in a couple days or so, but get out and do something, you guys, whatever it is, so that keeps you moving, keeps you focused on what we'd be learning already. So happy Friday. Take care of yourselves. Drink your water. Survive quarantine.